Good morning and welcome to week 4. I'm recording this on the morning of Monday, June 23rd. This video is a bit of housekeeping. You have a big week ahead of you. Not only are you trying to make it through or trying to wrap up last week where you were introduced to the early prophets, but this week you are moving through into the major, the minor prophets, and then closing this out with the writings before moving into the intertestamental period next week. You have a lot on your plate. On top of that, you will also have a quiz at the back end of the week, and you have Essay 1, which is due on Friday. In terms of Essay 1, which is what I want to try and address in this video, there are a couple of things that I want to lay down for you. Your due date is officially Friday. I understand you have a busy week ahead of you, and so you have an extended, no penalty deadline until Sunday, but the deadline is Friday. Just know that you do have a safety net built in if you find yourself getting caught or overwhelmed by the majority of the work. There will be no extensions on Essay 1. So there we go. In terms of Essay 1, I've already received a few questions from y'all about what is expected here. So the directions on Essay 1, if you have not had a chance to look at those, you probably want to look at that assignment on Essay 1. And the directions on it say that this should be a paper of between 7 to 15 pages. Now, that's the content of the essay and also an annotated bibliography. But as I always warn my students, what you should not understand here, or what you should not be taking away from this, is that you can kind of cut it at the bottom line. And so the annotated bibliography should be at least 2 pages. You should have no more or less than 4 entries connected to your annotated bibliography. If you have more research than that, great, love it. You are not required to do more entries. You are only asked to do 4 entries for your annotated bibliography. And if you've never done this before, no sweat, no big lifting here. You should know how to create a works cited entry, and that would be the first part of your of a single entry for the annotated bib, is having that citation, just like it would appear on your works cited page. The annotated bib is not the same as the works cited, so you do need to include a works cited page. But you begin with the entry from your works cited, copy, paste that over, and then you go into the second piece of the annotated bibliography, which is going to be where you essentially summarize. You summarize how the article was good, or if it wasn't good, how it failed in some respect. And you're basically just trying to summarize the article. I should be able to see your annotation and have an understanding of what the article is about. You're not passing judgment on it, you're just summarizing it. And then the third part to the annotated bibliography is where you do that, is where you say, this is a good source or a bad source, here's why, here's how I used it in my research. So again, for each annotated bibliography, I think the simplest and most direct way to summarize and explain this is to say that the annotated bibliography has 3 parts. First is the entry itself, just like it would appear on your works cited. Second piece is where you summarize the article in 1 to 2 sentences. Sometimes if it's really poppin', you might go 3 sentences. And then finally, the third part to the annotated bibliography is where you explain why it was a good piece of research or bad piece of research, how you used it, why you chose to use it, things like that. This is not a heavy lifting assignment. It is very direct. If you find yourself looking at the examples or looking at other examples online, that's probably going to be very helpful for you. I would say keep your eyes on those 3 parts: the citation itself, the summary, and your explanation of why it was good or not good. To this, you should not feel the pressure of having to collect research that is always good. Sometimes you come up against research that is bad, and that's okay. You, by experience, will begin to discover when a source is good, when it is not good, how, why, and what ways. And what you're left with is this question of like, well, why would you include bad research at all? Well, I would say in my own writings, in my own research, I include bad research sometimes to just say, like, look at what this idiot is saying over here. Can you believe that someone is out here saying such crazy, outlandish things? On the other hand, I don't know that it's bad research until I've really dug in, and I will say that in my annotations. I'll say, originally I thought that this was a quality piece of research, but through discovery, I've realized that it fails in these respects, and so I'll kind of list out what those are. And then sometimes you include bad research and you don't know that it's bad at all, which I think is the most unfortunate position for you to be in, is that you've included research that you think is quality stuff, and it is not quality at all. Moving on. In terms of your research collection, you are required to have 4 scholarly sources. This does not include your primary text. It is assumed that you will be using the Bible or passages from the Bible. The Bible is not scholarly research. It is considered a primary text because you will be using it. Second, you should be using a literary school of thought, a school of criticism. It is understood that you will do that. There is no way to successfully negotiate this essay without a literary critique or a literary analysis of some form. If you're just kind of shooting from the hip on what you think and what your opinion is, you really should avoid that entirely. I tell my 100 level, and remember this is a 300 level class, I tell my 100 level students that the first time I see I think, I feel, I believe, or any other first person pronoun, I stop reading and I give the entire assignment a 0. And that's at a freshman level. In the same way, I expect a higher form of research. I can reasonably anticipate a higher form of scholarship and the negotiation of scholarship. I can expect a higher form of critical thinking here. And in your analysis, you are expected to use a school of literary criticism. Failure to do that will result in automatic failure. And that does not, I don't say that to kind of put the pins down of, oh, I'm expecting y'all to fail. I say that because you should rise to the occasion. You should rise to the challenge. If this is not an assignment, if this is not a class that is working for you, I understand that. This is not a class designed for everyone. It is a class designed to make you think through what you are looking at and what you're reading and how it will impact the spiritual experience, how it will impact the philosophical exploration that you might be having. But again, we want to avoid I think, I feel, I believe. We also want to avoid any kind of use of hyper-spiritual language. We want to focus ourselves on the text, not on what the Methodist Church or what the Pentecostal experience is like. We might be getting into that in the second essay. For right now, I want to keep you focused on analyzing the text itself rather than the implications of that text. So keep grounding yourself in the text, in the schools of criticism, and you should be doing well. As for your page count, I warn all of my students in all of my classes that if you are not putting forward effort and you are trying to scrape by, it will show up in your work, and you should not anticipate high marks or even full marks. In my 100 level classes, again, freshman composition classes, the requirement is out there that students have no less than 4 pages. And what I mean by that is 4 full pages. I tell all of them they should really be on the top of the 5th page. In this class, you should have no less than 7 solid pages of content, top to bottom, 7 full pages of content of your essay before we start getting into the annotated bibliography, before we start getting into your works cited, before we start getting into any attachments that you might have. You really need to kind of put in the work of discovering what is in this text, analyzing this text, and then flipping it over and seeing what else can be said about it. You want to look at this in terms of the historical critical method, in terms of the narrative critical method that we've been using. So again, Harris, how he approaches it is the more historical approach, trying to put things in their context and the construction of religion and religiosity. The way that I am trying to build this class is that you are also looking at this in terms of literature. So in terms of analysis and critique, not only what you're seeing, but how you're seeing it and what the implications of that might be. And being aware of that, being conscious of that. Because if you fail to do this, if you fail to see the Bible as a text, if you fail to see it in its historical context, you are missing so much of what the authors would have intended. And if you fail to see the implications of what the Bible is doing today, in your life, in the life of the people around you, in politics, in government, in geopolitics, you're missing out a tremendous understanding of what the Bible does and how it can be weaponized and how it can also be very liberating. So depending on where you stand on that, we want to be aware of kind of what that range of experience might be. I understand that seems like a big jumble, and what I'm really trying to do is not to get you confused or to get you derailed. What I'm trying to get you to do is to own and have permission to explore these ideas in a creative way, in an innovative way, and in a way that feels authentic to you, rather than forced and trying to get a meaning out of the Bible that you just don't feel that that's true of the text. So own what it is that you're looking at, own how you're looking at it, and then let's move forward and see what turns up in your essay.